So today we are going over functions. A function is a relation. We already talked about relations for 2 days. A function is a special type of relation. So it's a set of ordered pairs where each input or each x value has only one output or y value. You can see an example of that here in a mapping diagram. You can see that here too, in that each x value on this graph matches up with only one y value. So maybe if you said x is -2, it matches up with this y value. It doesn't match up with this y value and another y value. So these are some examples of what functions would look like. There's a mapping diagram, a table, and a graph. And you could always change any of these into one of so if you had a graph, you could change it into a table or so on. And you'll see, so -2 is only matched to 8, 0 with 0, 2 with 8, 4 with 16. We don't see 4 being matched with 8 and 16. You might remember that when we did our graph matches where we talked about Tom being in 2 places at once. That would be an example of a relation that is not a function. So 1 is only matched with 3, 5 is only matched with 4, 5 isn't matched with 4 and 3. Here's some examples of relations that are not functions. In this one, you can see the input of -6 actually results in 2 outputs, -4 and 8. And that's not a function. You can't say I put in -6, I got back -4, but maybe I got back 8 too at the same time. That doesn't make sense. Over here is a table that is not a function. You can see because the 3 matches with a 2, and 3 also matches with -1, so it's not following what a function can do. Down here, this is an example of a function of not a function. If you look at the point 2, the input of 2 being x, it matches up here with this y, but it also matches up down here with this y. So that's 2 outputs for 1 input. Doesn't work. So here's an example of not a function. So determine if a relation is a function by using a mapping diagram. So you're going to set this up. You're going to do this without, you're going to push pause on the video and you're going to work on this. So you're going to make a mapping diagram of this relation and a mapping diagram of this relation. Then you can go back to your other slides from your notes and see if any of them are a function. So you can look back at the mapping diagram that was not a function, and do you see any input, left side, an x value being matched up with 2 y values? So please push pause now and work on that. Okay, so I'm not quite sure why this is doing that. What we're going to do is hopefully move this. Okay. All right, so if you look here, we have the answers. You can see I did the mapping diagrams here. So hopefully your mapping diagrams look similar. And even though you see the 11 and the 13 both matching up to a -2, the 11 is, what's important is that this 11 only matches up with 1. It's fine that 2 numbers map to the -2. It's not okay for 1 number on the left to map to both. You can see that here where I have the red lines drawn. This is your clue that it's not a function when there are 2 lines coming off of one of the x value numbers. And again, you can push pause at any point to check or write more notes. And when I say explain, you can see the explanations here. This is what you would use on the quiz. So then I say determine if a relation is a function by using the vertical line test. The vertical line test is if you draw a line through your graph or through the points and you can hit 2 points, a vertical line, that's up and down, that means it's not a function. Okay, so step 1 is going to be to plot these points on the coordinate plane. I would suggest maybe putting your y-axis over here so you have enough room. Plot your points and then see if it's possible to draw a vertical line and hit 2 points at once. If you can, that means it's not a function. So push pause now. And here you can see the points I plotted. The letter B is not a function. You can see here when I draw a vertical line, I can hit 2 points. That means that this value of -2 matches up with 2 y values, and that's a no-no for a function. Over here, everywhere I draw a vertical line, I would only hit 1 point. And it's vertical, not horizontal. It's fine that this, again, that this one is like this. It's not fine for it to be a vertical. Okay, do the following graphs show a function? Why or why not? You can use that vertical line test again. If you draw a vertical line, can you hit that red line twice? So go ahead, push pause, try that out, take a guess. All right, and here you can see the results. So on the left, we were fine. Obviously, this isn't all the vertical lines, but I drew some. And on the right, this one does not pass the vertical line test. I estimated this to be at about 1.5 on the x-axis, and you can see it matches up with roughly 1.5 and roughly -1.5. So you can't have an x value match up with 2 y values, not a function. All right, and then you can do the same thing here. Again, what your clue is, you're looking for an input, an x value, to match up with more than one y value. So give this one a try in table form. Check that. Okay, you can push pause. Right, and here are your answers. And this is your problem here as well. The 3 mapping to the 1 and a -1, that's no good. So today's lesson was really, can you determine if a relation is a function? We have the vertical line test. We also are really looking for any input, any x value to map to more than one y value.